Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and welcome to the Networking Fundamentals Bootcamp. And I'm joined with our multiple guest instructors here. So we got Chris, Shala, Tim, Jason. Jason's at a hackathon, so he'll be jumping in and out, but he will introduce himself and appear when he has a moment there. But I hope everybody's excited. I didn't have time to make a cool background here, but just imagine I have a. Whoop, hold on a second here. I was getting double feedback. I was watching the YouTube video there. But anyway, welcome, Jason. And let's jump into slides as per usual, and then we'll get to our guest instructor introduction. We'll give people a laydown of the format of the boot camp. For those returning boot campers, you have a general idea what's going on. But for those that are new, we want to make sure we cover this stuff. So let me bring my screen up here. And just before we get going, can I get a shout out here in the audience? Hey, everybody that's watching, can you tell me where you're from? I'm coming in from Scriber, Ontario, Canada, which is north of Canada. And surprisingly, it's not cold anymore. So usually other times I'm in a snowsuit, but now I'm not. I'm in a t-shirt for, I think a week, and then we're back to winter. So what is the Networking Fundamental Bootcamp? It's a 2 weeks of beginner-friendly learning. When I say beginner-friendly, we talk about this in the document, the main wiki, but we say that it's not necessarily we're doing very simple things, but we're going to try to make it as accessible as possible by being a little bit slower with the instruction, by providing more support and giving you more opportunities to make mistakes to get through this challenging content. It is fundamentals content, meaning that these are essential basic skills that you can use day in and day out, and they should be high impact for you if you are missing them. If you are already a network engineer like Tim or Shala, you used to be a networking engineer, or you still are, or N plus.
So yes, I got my start in tech as a network engineer, and these days I'm still a network engineer working in cloud. So yeah, I mean I'm a solutions architect and a DevOps engineer, but I still do networking every day.
So these live streams are every Saturday at noon. There was a bit of a mishap with the marketing website. I'm going to blame it on Gen AI, as even though I entered the right thing in, it decided to do that other stuff. So folks, Gen AI is still not taking our jobs. But anyway, it's Saturday noon Eastern. If you do miss this live stream, I mean, if you're missing it right now, you wouldn't hear me saying this, but it will get slotted into the bootcamp curriculum. The purpose of this is to have live interactions so that if you ask questions and just see what it looks like for real tech folks working in real time as the outcome. There is homework. I always have homework, and there is grading. If you are in the paid grading tier for our free big boot camps, it's open to everyone. For these smaller ones, we don't have the means to do that, so we do have to have a paid tier for that. There are digital badges. Again, that is for those that are graded. So if you are in the grading tier, then you should be able to receive a digital badge. We don't have tiers of badges for this. It's either you got it or you didn't, but we do have a grading rubric so you can have a sense of how well you did, because we want to give you as much rich feedback so that you can improve yourself. It's bring your own account. So we're not providing sandboxes. You got to bring your AWS, your GCP, your Azure account. And if you don't have access to all of them, just use what you got. But we do try to be multi-cloud here to give you robust skills. And remember, in order to get homework, to get grading, to be digital, you have to be in that paid tier. You've got to be registered. If you're not and you're watching right now, you can go to camp.exampro.co/net, get registered, and upgrade. If you are in the Discord tier and you decide that you want to go to graded, I'm going to issue out a coupon code to those in the Discord. It'll show up in your Exampro account. So if you do decide later on that you want to upgrade near the end, because some folks are asking me that, I will make that easy for you folks. Let's do our guest instructor introductions. I didn't give Tim a graphic because I was like, Tim, you have a whole video, but let's let Tim introduce himself. Tim, can you go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you'll be seeing way too much of me during this boot camp, so I guess I should go ahead and start. Yeah, Tim McConaughey. I am a network architect, also cloud network architect. I'm sure I could be a real architect if I wanted to, but yeah, I'll be instructing the boot camp. Nice to meet everybody.
And Chris, you want to go?
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Williams. I am currently the DevRel manager for HashiCorp. However, my background actually started in networking. Back in ye olden days, I was a network engineer, worked my way up through the stack, and now I am, my capacity here is to ask architectural questions, help with some of the larger design questions and the enterprisey type stuff. And I'll, ask dumb questions. That's my job now.
Oh, sorry. Shallow, you go. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shala, known across social media as Gifted Lane. I am the person who likes to go on live and learn in public, which means oftentimes people watch me break stuff really badly and then fix it. That's how I learn. I did get my first start as into tech as a, which is funny, always funny, lead network engineer. There's a whole background story with that, but I got bored with networking. Yes, I said it, and ended up going into the cloud. And I still do networking, but I just have like more fun with it now as I do cloud solution architecting and DevOpsing. So that's me.
And last but not least, Jason.
I'm trying to unmute. Sorry, I wasn't going. Hey, I am Jason. I'm a community manager over at Torque.dev. I'm here to talk to you about how you're going to leverage all of the wonderful new things these amazing teachers are going to teach you into articulating it in the best way to help it land you a role, or talk about what you're learning better, communicating your new skills. So
Cool. So we'll proceed forward. So what is the schedule? Yeah, I'm not muted, right? You can hear me, right? Okay, great. Sorry. I can't tell. I don't, for those who don't know, I don't actually have Bako in my ear. He is away in Greece right now. Well, I'm not going to tell you why, but he's away in Greece. And so I'm doing this all solo, and I think I'm doing an okay job. But
It
let's
feels super weird not having the Bako.
Yeah.
As like we're running it like almost. Well, I was going to say running it naked, but that would be weird. So,
But I guess he could connect from Greece, but I think he's busy and he's listening to, what do they call the little the guitars?
Bouzouki music.
Zabuki, the big, like a big. Also in Greece they have like giant tables where they have big parties and they're singing and stuff. So it'd probably be too loud for him to join the stream and be in my ear, but might be more distracting than it would be if not. Opa, yeah. So what's the schedule? So the stream is every Saturday noon to 2. I do want to point out that the format's a little bit different. We're trying every bootcamp, we try something a bit different. And so the last 30 minutes, we're going to try to focus more on career building, career advice. That's why we're bringing in Jason from Torque.dev, as we want to gain the skills, but also be able to demonstrate that you have those skills, especially in this current job market, which is different and interesting. After 2 p.m., we're going to have after class Q&A. This is where you can ask questions, and for our guest instructors that are able to make it, they'll be for 30 minutes, and you get the behind the scenes, and you can come up and use the microphone, and we can have a good conversation there. If you're not in the Discord already, and you have paid for supporter or graded tier, go watch the Discord verification process. Anybody having challenges getting into the Discord using the verification process, I'd love to know if you got your way in. Give me a Y in the chat. If you are not in there and you're struggling with it and you're in those paid tiers, give me an N so that I know. And if you are having issues, you can always email support@exampro.co to help you get in if you are in one of those paid tiers. Okay. Office hours, we're going to have those, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll probably vary them. I think I have them in the schedule, but I might adjust them to make them more convenient for some folks. We do have homework. So after this, we already have the videos queued up. And I'm not lying to you when I say they're queued up. I want to show you. I'm not a liar. Here they are. That's week 1. Okay. And so I think you folks saw that, right? Yeah, you did. Okay, great. And so that stuff is coming right afterwards. But again, it's just me. I don't have Bako, so I have to go and checkbox them all. So there'll be a little bit delay after class, but they will be released after class Q&A here. Every week, there is weekly submissions. I'm going to be more prescriptive than usual to help folks understand what it is that we want to see in those homework submissions. And so hopefully that helps folks out. I need to point out that one thing that we always do in these boot camps is we building the bridge as we cross it. I can say it. And so that means that some of these live streams may end up incomplete. Andrew may follow up videos to complete the live streams. That's me. Emerging technologies might be worked in last minute. Videos might appear. Like, let's say people want to learn about MCP because it's so hot right now, Gen AI. And Tim, is it a networking thing, or can we call it a networking thing?
Yeah, why not?
Sure, it's a networking thing, right? So maybe that will make it into the boot camp. Some guest instructors may drop out. Unexpected guest instructors might appear. I almost didn't make it for this live stream because I got a call last night from Hydro One, and they said, we're cutting your power off between 10 to 11 or whatever. And it didn't go off. And I'm going, is it going to cut off during this live stream? Like the fella who flips the switch is just, oh, I'm a bit late. That's how it is in Canada. Everyone's just kind of doing everything when they kind of feel like it. But just like a real world project, scope will change as we go. So, again, I'm adding videos as we go here. And so, I might adjust things as we go here. It doesn't matter if we fail. It matters that we grow domain knowledge and gain technical certainty through our experience. That is the main goal. And in fact, one of the videos I followed up from Tim's was I wanted to launch a Windows server in Azure. And I made the mistake of launching a data center one, and that was hard. And so I had to try to figure out how to change the SKU. And in the end, I just couldn't get the server launched, but I ended up doing all the stuff with Azure Bicep. And so I learned a lot there. And that video's in the course. And that's what I mean when I say, sometimes we don't have an outcome, but the reality is these things are hard. We're showing how hard they are. And if I can't figure it out, don't feel bad that you can't figure it out, but set realistic expectations, what it's like to work with these tools. Let's set out some Discord expectations. The Discord is not a tech meet queued up dating service. So stay out of people's DMs. This applies to outside Discord. We enforce our codes of conduct inside and outside. So I just don't want to hear any complaints about this stuff. So be respectful of everybody. Screenshots from your computer are and not from your phone. We covered this actually. Tim and I covered this in the grading rubric that make sure that when you're asking for help that you do proper screenshots, show good proof of effort, proof of work, and then people will help you out. If you make this mistake a couple of times, we'll help you out. But for your submissions, for your homework, if you're graded, do not put under any circumstance a screenshot from your phone, because that will be an automatic failure. And we have that in there. So if you haven't read it yet or watched that video, watch the grading rubric, read the grading rubric, because there are just some rules that we've decided that are just automatic failure, okay? No spamming multiple channels even twice. I think we have good controls there, but, if you don't know, just ask. Post in the forums. So for the most part, we have forums for each week where you can ask your questions. If you ask them an off topic or general, you'll probably just be told to go answer them in the forums. By keeping things organized, it helps both us to be able to support you, but also other boot campers, because they might have the same thing and they'll be able to find it. If you try to DM me directly, unfortunately, Discord is really busy. I don't see them. So, just wait. I check every day, and I will get to everybody here. For very serious issues, if there are any issues, email support@exampro.co. We take our codes of conduct extremely seriously. We do have the Sheet Clouds. So the Sheet Clouds is back as always. So if you want to get into that private Discord, just give me a DM. I'm just manually letting people in, and we will get you in there. And so that will just have a nice little extra space. If there are technical issues with the platform, something's not working, not with the content, but with the platform itself, email support@exampro.co. That will open up a ticket. My team will have to look at it, and then when the stand-up poll rolls around, I will hear about it and we'll get it resolved. Okay, don't mess with the mods. If a mod warns or asks you to do something, you need to do it. Argument will result in being kicked out of the Discord and possible ban from the boot camp. And so I like this graphic. It says, "Hi, I'm a new mod. I don't know what any of this is, and I'm scared," because sometimes our moderators, like we have moderators on the Exampro team, but some of our moderators can be previous Red Squad alumni. So please be respectful and kind and nice as much as you can. Discord expectations. That's that screenshot I'm talking about. Do not do this. Do not do this. This is like number one rule. Do not do this. Unless somebody wants to do it as a joke, initially there. But we do not want to see this. This is what a good screenshot looks like. That's from your computer, right? So hopefully that is clear. Proof of effort. Did you post in the correct form for each week? Did you take the time to describe what could be done? Just not just it doesn't work. Did you provide code samples? Did you provide it in Markdown format? Did you apply syntax highlighting? Did you show possible steps to resolve the issue and their conclusion? Did you provide screenshots from your computer, not your phone? Did those screenshots show key information? And don't just say I got a 500 error. So I'm talking about all this proof of work when asking for a question. Chris, why would you have to go through all this trouble to ask a technical question? Shouldn't I just help you with the my thing don't work?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Andrew. If there are going to be a large number of people asking questions in the chat, if we don't get the context around the question, crafting a good question is very, very important. Not only for the sake of the bootcamp, but for the sake of like your future in the field of technology itself. By learning how to ask good questions. And there used to be this thing called Stack Overflow. It still exists, but now AI is taking its lunch. There used to be this thing called Stack Overflow, where if you didn't ask the question well, you were I'm not gonna say harassed mercilessly, but you definitely felt the pain of asking not a silly question, but not understanding how to formulate a question well. By asking the question well, by giving the context of what it is that you're trying to do, not saying something, this no worky, please help fix, is a really inefficient way. It wastes everybody's time. It wastes the time of the person that's trying to help you. It wastes your time in not formulating the question, and it's a very frustrating way to eventually get to a solution. If you've been in tech support, you've seen this 1,000 times, and it'll make you want to pull your hair out. But we don't have time for that in a 2-week boot camp. So you've got to craft good questions.
And this is really good practice to show good technical documentation, good technical communication, which I'm sure when we talk to Jason later, he'll say is vitally, vitally important. But we'll come back to that later on. There is a big wiki that I wrote. I took a lot of, it does have spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes, but it is written. So please read that manual. And we have the RTFM joke. That's a technical joke that a lot of folks, they could be solved if they just read the manual, right? So everything is documented. Be sure to check out the FAQ, the outline, the codes of conduct, the Discord announcements, the Discord forums, the Exam Pro platform announcements. And you can find that all at, it says net. Ooh, that's a mistake. It is, let me cross that out. Camp. That's the best I can do. I actually have a Wacom. I don't know why I don't use it, but we have camp.exampro.co.net, and that will get you to the link to the big doc. And I'll actually show it here just to make it really, really clear where that is. So if you're over here, hopefully everyone loves our aesthetic or graphic for this bootcamp. But we'll scroll on down here, and all these little red links, they all go basically the same place. And so here, like this is the grading rubric, but we have the curriculum outline, so you can read about what we're doing, the time commitment. This thing is kind of accurate, so it might be a little bit more time now. We might have to update that, but we talk about the Discord access, the Discord rules, the grading rubric, the FAQs, and the codes of conduct. So it's all there for you to read, and I'll probably be updating this as the bootcamp goes, as per usual, as we will need to have more information. Well, let's continue on with their slides. I know slides are boring, but we're almost all the way through it. But you know the rules, and so do I. But I know it's frustrating when the teacher says, go read the instructions. For the grading and journaling, what matters through this experience is growing domain knowledge, gaining technical certainty. What I want you to journal is hypothesis and technical uncertainty, technical exploration, final observations and outcomes. What I don't want to see is basic explanations of technical terms, routine steps. Make your impression, make it clear what's your homework challenge, and etc. So I will make a video. Right there. I'll make a video on how to journal. And we kind of did in the last bootcamp, but this one, because it's a fundamental bootcamp, I really want to hit this home, like dead on. So you will definitely see a lengthy video for me this week. Exactly what I want to do here. That's very prescriptive. Okay. Let's take a look at some FAQs. What if I didn't finish the prereq? So we had a prereq course in the GenAI bootcamp because it was a bootcamp that was over 6 weeks that took 6 months to build. We had a 22-hour prereq. It's a fundamental bootcamp, so it's a 2-hour prereq, right? And so the format was a little bit different. I actually brought Tim in, and we both had a back and forth. I'd like to know your feedback. If you like that format, it's a new type of format. If it was all over the place and you would rather have it modular, let me know. If you like the new format or you think it should be a mix of both, I'd love to hear that feedback, because again, we're always trying to make things better here. I don't think the prereq was hard. It's basically lecture content. It's a 2-hour watch. The idea is just to get exposure to these terms and see as you're working, right, does that stuff crop up? So we might say IPsec, right? Like there's a slide on that, but maybe in the labs, Tim says IPsec or I say IPsec. You can go back to that 2-hour video and look at that IPsec slides. Also, if it's not on the platform, I will upload the slides there so you can download them, and that might be a more efficient way for people to find them. We normally do that, and I just haven't. What happens if I join late? Can I still participate? It's a short boot camp, but technically you can. I haven't closed registration yet. Normally I do close registration because things can get a little bit noisy. We do have that new invite system with Discord. Hopefully that worked for everybody. So it's becoming a little bit easier for us to support folks. But if we get too much noise, if people are coming in and disrupting, then we will close that off. But for the most part, you can join late. How do I get into Discord? There is a specific video to watch. It's linked in the Exam Pro site. Let me go over here and see if I can quickly find it for you folks here, so you know exactly what we're looking at. Just a moment here. Okay, and so in our journey here, if you can see that this is the Discord link, but you have to watch the Discord access video. If you go to registration, it's right here. Okay, so watch that video. There's very specific instructions. That's for people in the supporter tier, in the greater tier. You paid for Discord. Go get it. It's really worth it. So we'll continue on here. What if I miss a live stream? These are going to be placed into the outline. Okay, so they will be there. Where's Bako? He's in Greece. Don't ask. So I think we're at the end of it. I don't think I have any more slides. So we'll go ahead and discard that. And we will jump in to what we're doing on week 1. Tim, what are we doing?
Well, I think we have a couple things, right? One is we're going to kind of talk through the media server stuff that Bako set up. And I believe we're also doing some diagramming, right?
So for those who don't know, my co-founder Bako, don't ask, he is also my neighbor. And we actually have a lot between us. And so I was getting tired of paying for Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu. I don't have Hulu up here, but like we'll say Crunchyroll or whatever. And there's just a ton of services up here. And then the prices went up in Canada. And there's this, my wife was subscribing to everything known to whatever, anything she could press on, we got a subscription to. And I literally had like a $200-300 bill for subscriptions. And I said, I turned it all off and I said, no more subscriptions. And let's have a replacement. And so I said, Bako, go build me a media server. And he did that. And there's networking stuff in that stuff, and I'm not good at it. And so he said, I built this thing. I said, great. Can you show us, give us the technical documents on how you did it? And then we can try to make sense of it and see if we wanted to build our own media server. So anyway, the media server lives in his house. And I have this device. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it when something like sends a signal from point A to point B from line of sight, Tim?
From line of sight?
Yeah.
It's just is it like radio, microwave? Like
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I'm not networking. I don't know.
So are there wires involved?
No. Well, okay. So this is why I want Tim, because I don't even know what I'm looking at. So my point is we're vaguely describing, like I'm the CTO right now, or the director of engineering or whatever. And I have 3 network engineers, and Jason, you can be PM, and so I'm trying to make sense of this build. So we had a previous developer named Bako, and he's gone, right? And so now I have my 3 network engineers, and I want to understand what this thing is, and let's try to reverse and make changes from what we have here. So anyway, our media server's here. And actually, I think he set it up. This isn't a private repo, so I don't have access to it. But here we have, it's setting up Jellyfin, something called Gluten, whatever. There's some networking stuff in it. I don't know what it is. But down below here, he gave me an architectural diagram where we have the Jellyfin server on a host machine. This is literally his computer that sits in his house. And then it does some stuff where it gets stuff from the internet. So Gluten has a VPN tunnel to these torrent sites, and we only, by the way, we only torrent public domain footage. Okay, we're not
cover.
we're not
Yes.
taking anything else, right? We're all here
That's
about
absolutely correct,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
obey licensing
Yes,
laws.
we do.
That's right. Neon Genesis Evangelion is in public domain, and so
Is
there's
it?
stuff. Sorry,
No.
it's not. Maybe it is in Canada. I don't know. And
Yeah. Must be in Canada.
but
Let's go
anyway,
with that.
But anyway, so there's a host machine that's in Baco's house, and then down below here, there's something called Gluten, and it's doing stuff. So
Mhm.
even if we're not doing exactly this, how would we go about setting up a media server and getting that broadcasted to my house? Or let's say we wanted to turn this into a business model, which again, public domain stuff, right? Let's say we want to make this into a business model where people could rent, and we have our own streaming service in town, right? But anyway, what we'll do is we'll go over to Lucid Charts, and folks, you can use Draw.io, whatever you want. But I want you folks to go make your own architectural diagram. Okay, this is very important. So Draw.io is free. I'm using Lucid Charts here today. So use whatever you want, and after the video is over, you can watch it again and figure it out. But we need to start design. Should we start writing about this, or should we start just putting things on a page, or should we do both? Chris, Tim, Shala?
Chris,
So
do you have it?
there's-
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a couple of ways that we can go about doing this. From what Baco has drawn out, that looks to be a mixture of. So in previous boot camps, we've talked about conceptual, logical, and physical drawings.
Mhm.
It looks like Baco has got a mixture of a bit of conceptual and a bit of logical. Actually, and he's got ports nailed down too. So he's actually doing a bit of the physical as well, all in one diagram. I think the best thing for us to do is capture this writ large, like where the user is, what is it that we're trying to do, where we want ingress points to come in. So just for my own edification, I'm going to ask a couple of dumb questions.
Okay.
We've done the prereq video. The expectation is the folks that are with us today have watched the prereq video. So we already understand CIDR blocks and IP addresses and subnetting.
We have exposure.
Is that where we're
to them.
starting?
Yeah, we have exposure to them.
And at least like TCP/IP and ports and stuff like that should be part of this as well, of course. Yeah,
okay,
that should be in there.
So are we building something in the cloud, or are we building a local physical network for your environment?
I don't want to put this in cloud. I don't want to get in trouble, right?
Okay. No.
Oh yeah, local.
Fine.
It's local. It's local.
Okay.
No, public domain stuff, folks. Public domain.
Licensing constraints notwithstanding, where are we? The where of where this is being stood up is a very important question. Because if we're talking about physical things, then that's one consideration. If we're talking about deploying things to a cloud in terms of wiring things up via code, that's another consideration.
Okay.
So from the large perspective, we're currently building on paper Baco's, for lack of a better term, homemade Plex server.
Media streaming private service.
Private media streaming service. Okay. So in that case, what I would do is I would do just what I said, figure out, where the ingress points are, put like some little humans on the Draw.io thing and figure out who's going where and what is connecting to what from a large perspective.
Okay.
So like where the houses are, where the points of connection are going to be, where the connectivity out to the internet is going to be from.
Yeah.
And Tim, if you disagree, tell me to.
No, I don't disagree at all. I completely agree with what you're saying, Chris. The only thing I wanted to add to it is probably something you would have eventually got to yourself, which is when I looked at Baco's diagram initially, what I actually struggled with it, even as a network person, because I lacked the context. And I think context of what you're doing is everything in terms of if you're going to start with a diagram, you have to understand the context of what you're building, right? So just like you said, Chris, we need to start with where's it going to be, who's going to be accessing it, what method are they going to use to access the server, probably is where we need to start.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, can I rotate this? Oh, I can. So actually I have a window and he has a window. And there
Okay.
literally is some kind, I don't know what it is. There's some kind of device that sits, it's a little white box.
It's a microwave, probably a microwave. You
Oh,
probably have
like
like a
the-
line of sight, microwave
My-
or something like that.
okay.
Radio, most likely. What
So-
I know, you guys agree that's most likely what they've got is some kind of line of sight radio or microwave.
Does it have to be line of sight, Andrew, or is it in a
No,
window?
we can make this
because-
however we want, as long as it
No, no.
works. That's all I
No,
care
in
about.
real life. In real
Oh,
life.
but
what
in
you've
real
got.
life, yeah, there's a device. I don't know what it is, but it's like, I don't know if you call it extender, repeater, a receiver, a
Well,
combination of those. There's
those are
a
a bunch of different things. So,
white box.
Do they face each other and give you connectivity to each other?
They do.
yeah.
They do.
Is-
So he has something
yeah.
here, and I have something there, and it's sending something. We got a line here.
Then it's line of sight radio or microwave, one of the two, most likely.
Okay.
Is it are they in a window because they have to be physically seeing each other optically, or is it because windows are the least method of resistance for radio waves?
I don't know, but I know that he's like, put it in the window or it won't work.
Okay.
That's what he says. Put it in the window. Look, I'm the dumb CTO. I get paid a lot of money, and I just tell the CEO it can be done technically, and then I go,
I love it.
you folks, you figure it out. Okay.
Mohammed is saying most likely a light beam from Ubiquity.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it Ubiquity? I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I guess Ubiquity has something like this as well. Yeah.
Is
Sure.
it Ubiquity, Andrew?
I don't know. I'd have to go run inside and bring you in the box. Should I
Okay,
go?
that's-
should I
no,
go?
don't do that.
No,
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 not
don't do that.
necessary, not required.
I didn't think so.
Okay, that's fine. So, all right, but we're starting to, from an architectural perspective, what we're doing is it's a little bit like building a puzzle, right? Except you're not like, you're actually building the edges of the puzzle, kind of like people really solve puzzles, right? You know, people build the edges, and what you're doing is determining what your constraints are, and then you're putting them in your diagram, because your constraints are going to be what determine ultimately what your options are, like how to connect them, how to make them talk to each other.
Okay, so the Tory gate's just there for, but people don't know, like I own the lot between it, and I built the Tory gate, so I thought that was kind of cool to put in there. So we have the smart TV.
I'm sorry, what's a Tory gate? Like a wooden actual Japanese Tory gate?
Yes, like the Japanese Tory gate.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I thought this was networkingly relevant. Like a Tory gate was a cool name for a networking gate, but no, it's
no, it's a
something
little
you built
Tory
that you
gate.
want to brag about. Okay,
Yeah.
got
It
it.
is
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
a Japanese Tory gate.
Yeah. Definitely got a permit for that. Anyway, so so we have a server, right? And coming back over to here, well, one of the things that I do know is that if I want to connect to his network, I have to switch my network to this network connection of whatever this is sending out.
That makes sense.
Does that sound right? Okay.
It does. To me, at least, it sounds right. It sounds like you've got a private network between your, over that radio or whatever it is, radio light, whatever it is.
So I'm looking here, like this looks like this is Jellyfin, right? But this looks like this is to the actual
yes.
Not to the house. This is literally to the
This is container architecture. What you're looking at there, that actually looks to me like I think what he did is he has a Linux box, like a host, like you said, like he's got a computer, right? And on the computer, he's running these containers. He's running Gluton, which all Gluton is a what do you call it? It stitches VPNs together. Like it gives you like a Linux bridge or something like that. I think it is that stitches networks together or VPNs together. And it provides a network service so that all the other containers, the torrent container for public domain works, your subtitle, whatever the other ones that are in there, they all use Gluton as their network connection so that they can go connect to, the VPN and then ultimately to whatever it is that they're connecting to download those completely legal things that you're downloading.
Okay, so we have a server, right? And if we go back over to here, the server, the Jellyfin server is running on 808096, right? So I'm going to go over to here, and we have 8096, which is, I guess, Jellyfin. Right?
Yes, which is a media server. So it's Plex, right? It's the whatever Plex became. I think
it's
became
Plex-like.
Yeah,
I think it's its own thing, but it's Plex.
Oh, is it? Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I haven't used it, so.
That's
But yeah,
fine.
it's essentially it's the media server. It's the streaming application.
Okay, so my question is like, what would be What would be an IP address example of what his network might be?
I don't know, just 192.168.1.0/24 or something. So just pick an IP in that range, probably be good.
Okay. Do I need a CIDR block in here or no?
No, not for
Okay,
this.
good.
Not for
Okay.
this. Not for the. If we're diagramming the actual host IP, we would not use a CIDR block as part of that. We would use just the IP address. The host
Okay.
IP was what we call it.
Makes sense. See, folks, I'm telling you, I really don't know networking. That's why you don't see networking courses from me.
If you've got two different subnets for each house, then
that
you
would be-
definitely want to put that at the house layer.
Agreed.
You want to have, you want to have for house A, let's call it 192.168.0.0/24. And then for house B, put 192.168.2.0/24.
Okay, so I heard a /24, and then the other number to change?
.0 for to
Yeah,
indicate the
third
entire
octet.
subnet.
Oh, okay. .0, and this is subnet.
That's it. You were there. Yeah, subnet A, house A, whatever you want to, however you want to call it, right?
Okay, and then the other one's just .1, or what is it for the?
So-
other?
Yeah, 192.168.1.0.
Right.
Oh, right, yes.
And then between the two houses, that white box network is probably actually a different. Is probably the no. We're saying this is that network. I see what you're saying, Chris. Okay, yeah, that works. That's right.
Yeah, and put subnet A like at the edge of the house, so that it looks like it's the entire. No, you had it right before the first time. Down.
Yeah. Right. So one thing though, between the two white boxes, they would definitely have to share a network, at least across that point-to-point link. They would have to be in the same network across that point-to-point link. So that whatever that looks like, it doesn't really matter. But we could say for the purposes of designing that, it's just a very small subnet that's shared between the two. Whatever.
Okay, so we have Jellyfin over here on port 0896, and then there is. But this is the size of the subnet here, but then the home network is like, you know how we have VPCs or your VLAN or your whatever, like there's an IP address, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to mock everything that's there, right? So like if I'm connecting to this, I'm not connecting to like this box of this is not connecting to 192.168, or is it? Because this thing is bridging that network.
Like I said, they have to have a network in common between them. The two white boxes have to have some network in common between them. So, and then
that
you
is,
probably
that
have
is not .0 or .1.
Correct.
It's
correct.
It's a separate connector network that rides across them, so that when you're establishing your route table, it knows it knows which way
Send
to push
traffic.
packets.
Yep, that's right. And we would usually just call that like a point-to-point link, which is really what you've got here is a point-to-point link.
Okay, so these two subnets here, are these in separate networks, or are they in the same network?
They're in the separate networks. And you know that because the third octet is different, and then you have a /24. So the interesting subnet is the last one, essentially, or the interesting network is the last one.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like in the visual diagram, there is a shared network, right? That we're talking about, that they're both connected to.
Correct.
And so is this shared network, it's facilitated by these white boxes?
Let's go back to the diagram, because I think what Baco's actually drawn here. Let's go back to the diagram.
Well, but this thing is only showing what the host machine is doing out to the internet, which is
That's right.
This part, right?
That is correct.
I'm trying to understand the network here. Like, okay, I have this box. Like, I have an IP I have an IP address, like whatever it is, like my
okay.
IP.
Well, let's take a little bit of a step back for a second.
Okay.
Let's take a step back.
Okay.
You've got two separate networks, house A and house B.
That's right.
What subnet A means, 192.168.0.0/24. What that means is that for house A, you've got a range of IP addresses that you can apply to house A. So you've got 255 IP addresses that you can burn inside of house A.
Okay.
Then for house B, you've got 200. Well, it's less than 255, and we'll get into why that is in a second. But for the purposes of what we can do in the environment, you've got 255 IP addresses in network B, and those go 192.168.1.0. The third octet is what distinguishes the two networks from each other.
That's right.
The So inside of that range of 255 IP addresses, we've got to use one IP address to connect things to each other. You've got to burn IP addresses, and when I say burn, I mean leverage them to do a number of things that don't include just having point-to-point hosts. You've got to connect the two networks together. You've got to have gateways. There's a number of things, and if you're in the cloud, there's reserve IP addresses and other things too. So the way that you want to build out networks takes all of that into consideration. So when you're building something for a company, they'll say, okay, you've got here is your block of IP addresses that you can use, and that /24 tells you how many usable IP addresses you've got within said range, class A's, class B's, and class C's, which you guys went over in the prereqs. Tim, go take over.
No, you're good. So one thing we need to figure out is, you mentioned, Andrew, that there's a physical piece we're missing here. So between the two houses, you've got this white box. They face each other.
Yep.
What is the white box plugging into on both sides of that? Like, what is the box that's connected to the white box that's bringing the networking into your houses?
This one here is just plugged into the wall. It's not plugged into the internet. It's just literally plugged into the wall. This one.
Okay, here. But like, from a networking perspective, that white box connects to something to provide a network connection.
This white box connects to this other white box.
Okay,
but there's a router out. You've got to get the internet to that white box. You've got to have some form of modem, and the modem is connected to a router.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah, you have to have like a home router or like a wireless router or something like that. There has to be a cable somewhere that white box plugs into on both sides of it.
Oh, sure, but I think this white box on this side plugs into network A's ISP.
Perfect.
Right?
Well, whatever you're running, whatever home router or whatever it is that you've got, like your Netgear or Ubiquiti or whatever that is, whatever your home network is, I'm sure that's what I would assume that's what the white router, white box plugs into. And so therefore that home router, that Ubiquiti, that Netgear, whatever it is, it's providing your connection, is also connecting your Jellyfin server and your smart TV and all of the other devices, I would think, right? And so it's bridging those two. It's what's ultimately connecting those two networks together, home A and
I'd like to confirm a couple things here first.
Okay.
So we have network A and house A, right? And this has some kind of, let's say it's network. I guess its network would be something, something like /1. I don't know its size, but it's larger because we have a subnet that's smaller in it, right? We don't.
Okay. So sorry. So /24 would okay. You've got subnet. Okay. You've got subnet A as /24. I see. So then, yeah, we could say it's /16 or something 16, like that.
The other way.
Yeah, /16 would be fine, I think.
Okay. So we have a network. Right. And then with that network, we have a subnet. And then in that subnet, we have a server that has this IP address. And then we have this Jellyfin server serving on this port, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And so now the thing is that in order for this TV, it has to connect to this port over here. Right?
And that IP address as well. Correct.
So this box here needs to be on within this subnet network to talk to this server, right?
Not necessarily. This is what I was saying.
Okay.
So what's probably actually happening is that white box has a point-to-point link in a different subnet. It's connected to your home router, and then your home router is actually connecting the two subnets together and passing packets between the two subnets. That's most likely what's happening.
So make another subnet.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then then this would be what?
It doesn't matter. It could be 3. It could be 4. It just has to be shared with the other side. It has to be something. Actually, it has to be, it just has to be shared with the other side, the other device. And Shala and Chris, you guys can jump in here as well if I've missed a part of this. But I think that's accurate based on what we've shown.
No, I mean, there's a lot to this, and we're kind of shotgunning this. So let's slow down for a second, Mr. Brown.
Okay.
And go through this a little bit methodically.
All right.
Okay. Tim, let's build the connector subnet.
Okay.
Let's call it. So he's got .3, .1 on one side, and change that subnet to a .32. Tim, is that what you want to go with for the small one?
I mean, truthfully, it doesn't. In real world, if we were making this real world, it would be like Let's see, 192. Let's see. Let me think about this. We'd probably use a completely different subnet, but it's fine. Let's say like 192.168.3 0/30. That way, you would use one IP on both sides. Is most likely what the real world is. What that would look like. So
Where-
take your subnet B.
Okay.
Make that 192.168.3.0/30.
30. Okay.
And actually, it would be the same on the other side. You would have a subnet B on the other side. On the other side of the window in the in-house B, you would have the exact same subnet connected to that white box.
We,
No, not there.
No.
The subnet B. Sorry, subnet B. You
I
haven't created
just
it over
changed.
there.
I just changed subnet B. You mean subnet A?
No,
No.
I don't. I mean,
Oh,
take
okay, sorry.
subnet B and copy it over to the other house. This is the shared infrastructure that
Oh,
point-to-point link
I
is
see.
connecting
You
to.
mean literally do this?
Yes, I mean literally do that.
Okay.
You got it. And then that white box, because this is shared, right? All networks, in order to pass packets between networks, they have to be on a not only a shared medium, but ultimately a shared network, right? So
Okay.
that's what this is. This is our little tiny one IP on both sides, point-to-point network that's going to allow these two to talk essentially.
Okay. So this one has this one, and so what's the network address of this one here? 192.
It'll be 192. Well, let's see. What do you have here? You have 192. It can technically, yeah. So
Would it be easier to make it something else visually?
yeah, it's fairly normal to have two houses running the same networks at the end of the day.
Okay.
And as long as they don't overlap with each other, everything could still work.
Okay.
It kind of depends. Then we're getting into things like routing protocols, and I don't want to make things too ugly.
Sure.
But let's just keep it like this for now. So yes. So, and then you have some other subnet that's not 3 for your smart TV and all of your other devices that are in house B.
Because we don't want it to overlap. So this one's
That's right.
This one's 0. This one's 3, and we're allowed to have this one because right now
Because
we're
it's
just trying
point to point.
We're trying to avoid having other additional networking components that
Correct.
make it more complicated. And
Correct.
so that way we're able to do here. So we have 192.168.1.024. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So
And then whatever your smart TV, your home network essentially is sitting in that subnet,
okay.
right? And then Chala, you want to? You've been so quiet. You want to? I know you can do that. I know you got this. So come on, let's hear it.
First off, the landscaper decided to start cutting the grass, so it's bunch of
Oh,
noise.
so this is a bad time for you. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't ask.
That was fine.
Now-
And then I do have to run off to a hair appointment. But no.
Okay.
So sorry, but Chala, if somebody was mowing the lawn in the lot, would it interrupt the signal?
So I don't want to go too wild on a tangent, but this is one of my favorite topics. This is where I call internet voodoo, because one of my favorite things learning, like going through Network Plus and then diving into like Wi-Fi, is the fact that sometimes when you have like that blip in a video call or the email didn't quite come through or whatever, sometimes it's because the signal was literally passing through like your bones in your body and it just like fell short there. So yes, that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is true.
So my sous vide steak dinner could interrupt my live stream of Evangelion Neon Genesis to my house.
Yeah.
Your microwave
Okay.
could too, depending on where it's at.
No, my microwave's broken, so it's not hurting.
Oh,
me.
okay. Well, then I guess you're good. Okay. So yeah, actually, sorry, Shala.
And keep in mind,
didn't
everyone,
realize-
exactly, and you'll hear me say this time and time again through the different boot camps, but exactly what you see happening right now is exactly what happens in meetings in the real world, even with clients, and you just figure it out. So also keep in mind when you're doing this camp, what you put in is what you get out of it. So if you have any hesitations with asking dumb questions, this was definitely me. Use this space as a safe space to practice that and don't hesitate. And usually the person who asks the dumb question in the meeting tends to end up being the star of the meeting because they asked something everyone else was too scared to ask. So
couldn't agree with that more. I preface when I ask dumb questions like that, or when not really dumb questions, or really they're the questions that everybody else is thinking, but nobody's brave enough to ask. I'll start with, I'll be the guy that asked the dumb. I'll be the guy that asked the dumb question. Usually, how I preface that. So you're absolutely right.
That, or I'll be like, just to play devil's advocate, like those are my two go-tos.
Okay. So
This
we
is
have
great.
the Jellyfin server on port 8096, right?
Mhm,
Now this
sure.
white box must have its own port and its own IP address. Is that right?
It doesn't have to have a port. Again, this is probably just a router. It's essentially a router that's using radio or light or
Okay.
microwave or whatever it is. There doesn't have to be any ports associated with it at all.
Okay. So what IP address would it get?
Well, it would get one, and then the other side would get two. There's only two usables in that subnet. It'd be 192.168.3.1, and the other side would be 3.2. Or you could reverse it. It doesn't really matter.
Okay. So I'll go here.
The point again is that /30 subnet has only two usable addresses in it. So that's very commonly used to conserve IP addressing. And actually, yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole /31 thing. I'm not going to get into
XZY. So if we go to aside or XZY, just to make clear. So if we do 30 here,
Mhm.
then it says we have 4, right? So that's, we have very few. Okay. So folks,
But look at
remember
the
earlier
usable
when I was,
IPs. Look at the usable IPs.
usable
though.
IPs.
That's what matters. If you look at,
Oh.
we do get 4, but so notice that there's only 2 usable because one is the
Ah.
broadcast and one is the subnet IP. Those are not actually usable by hosts.
Okay. So
Right.
literally we only have 2. All right.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
And folks, I never remember these numbers you saw. I said 128 earlier, and I was just like 128, and Tim's like, look, I can't even put 128 in here. So, just so like if you're not doing this on your daily, the numbers are hard for me. But anyway, the point is you put a number in here, and it tells you how many things you have available, right? So if we go back over to here, and this is 24, and I dump in 24 here, I have, in theory, 256 IP addresses
Minus
that are available
2.
here. Minus
Yeah,
2.
you always
right?
take the 2 out, and that's the usable. Mhm.
Okay. And then in cloud, there's obviously a little bit more. So we have in the white box here 192.168.0.1. And then this one, as you just said, there's only 2. So we'll go over to here and we'll say 192.168.0.2. Okay. And so now these 2 are established, right? So we have those, and technically, like you're saying it's on a port, but isn't it on a port like port 80 or something?
No. Oh, wait, what are we talking about? Sorry.
Well, so like the Jellyfin server is on port 8096, right?
Yes, correct.
And so this smart TV has to connect on port 8096. So would this
Yeah.
just be like technically it has maybe all the ports it's forwarding, but it is still going through port 8096?
No. So this is what separates like networking level stuff from application level stuff, right? Like
Okay.
these white boxes do not exist to do anything application related, right? It has no need for ports, no interest in ports, except for if these were 2 routers and they were using routing protocols, then that's technically an application running on a router. But these are literally just flinging packets at each other. So there's no value or use for ports. Now, what will use ports is your smart TV, because that's application layer. So it's going to use some high random port as the source port when it connects to the Jellyfin server. I'm not showing off my cat, but she's laying here next to me.
The port would be the port on the smart TV. Would it be 8096 or some other port?
No. So the source port is different than the destination. The destination is the listening port. That's the application is listening for you to connect, like port 80 or 443, like all those well-known ports. That's from the perspective of they are running the application and waiting for someone to connect to them.
Okay.
When you are connecting outward to that application, you choose what they call high random. So there's a like 65,000, I forget how many ports there are. There's a huge amount of ports that are just kind of available to be used by the computer or whatever, smart TV, whatever it is. And it's just going to pick one at random above a certain range, because below that they're reserved, right? So it'll just pick a high random out of that huge range to choose as its source port.
Okay. So when I'm talking to it this way, I have to go to port 896, but this thing's going to go back to this port. How is it going to know?
That's exactly it.
Okay.
That's exactly how it's going to know, because go ahead.
How is it going to know? Sorry.
Because the connection will come into Jellyfin.
Yes.
Jellyfin, the application will process the connection and see that it came from
Andrew Bartholomew Brown.
Yes.
You taught stateful connections. This is a thing you taught in your AWS Associate Certification exam bootcamp.
And what's your point? I am all knowing. I know everything.
That very good point, Chris. Right, this is how all stateful, everything stateful works, right? Because it's going to see that the connection came from 192.168.1.1. Let's say 3012 was the random high point that it picked when it sent it. It's going to receive that connection, right? It's going to process it, and when it replies, it's just going to flip the destination and source IP, and so the destination will be back to that port, that high random port. And so when the smart TV gets that packet back from Jellyfin, it's listening for that reply on that random high port it picked for that application specifically.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. No, if it doesn't make sense, I'll say it makes sense.
Yes, but for those who don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, I get it. Okay.
I can rephrase that if you want.
Okay, sure.
Please.
Okay. So there's two things that are talking to each other. One has one IP address and the other one has another IP address. Underneath that layer of IP addresses is also port connectivity. The client, so we've got a client and a server, and they both have a different IP address. The client reaches out to the server, and it knows not only the IP address, but it also knows the port.
Okay.
When that connection happens, a link is established between the two. The random port of the client is remembered in that link, in that stateful connection. So when the server responds on the known port that the client knew about, it responds back on the random port that the client generated to initiate the conversation.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
So
cool.
Okay. So now, should we be drawing any lines between the white box and the smart TV and the server and the white box and the server to indicate that it's communicating over there?
There is an invisible router in between the white box and the smart TV. Guaranteed. Okay. There's got to be something that's connecting the white box to the rest of the home network. Sorry, Chris, you were going to say something.
Well, the fact that it's encapsulated in the network A box kind of implies that it knows that the things inside of that box know of each other. It was kind of funny because when you first created the little white network A box, I was like, oh, that's going to get a hell of a lot bigger. And then you started growing it further and further. Honestly, network A and house A should just be one box, because that's the network A is house A and network B is house B.
Yeah, you don't have a network A2, A3, A4 inside house A, but that regardless, this is fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to represent the houses.
This is fine. And this is
Tory Gate.
Yeah, and the Tory Gate. This is an interesting thing. Let's architecturally diagramming, by the way, getting back to that a little bit. This is kind of the fight that I've always had when I've created network diagrams, is how do you represent the physical layer, essentially what are the cables, what's plugged into each other? How do you represent the the data link layer, like what VLANs, what subnets are we data link with VLANs are we running into, what IP addresses, I guess 2 and 3 really, layer 2 and 3, and make it all make sense in one diagram without making it an absolute mess. So this is something that most of us struggle with, is just how much info is too much in one diagram, basically.
So now my question is, we got 30 more minutes. What else can we do to make this better?
So yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Well, there's a bunch of things. Vitaly actually makes a really great recommendation in here. Is we need to specify where the external. So the external connection is a modem. There's a modem that's doing conversion from the raw internet down to where we're going here, and that is going to be one of your only real IP addresses. So there's a bunch of real IP addresses out there. And when I say real, I mean not 192.168.1.1, not 172, and not the 10 dot, because those are the private ranges of Class A, Class B, and Class C IP addresses. The real internet is those very specific IP addresses that you'll see. So if you go to IP Chicken right now, you'll get your IP address.
That's the one I use too. Almost nobody knows that one. Everybody uses what's my IP. I use IP Chicken as well.
So IP Chicken is one of the internet servers out there that responds with your actual real IP address. Well, we probably shouldn't be telling people this because now you get flooded, Andrew. But
Here comes the DDoS.
That is the one IP address that your network is speaking over because
of NAT. Yeah.
IPv4 IP addresses are very constrained, which is why we've been trying to get to IPv6 desperately for the past 20 years.
Yep.
So yeah, and everybody that's got a house with an internet modem has an external facing IP address. All of the things that we've been playing with, the 192s, that is all internal private IP addresses that have to be translated out to, and I don't think we're going to get into NAT in this one because that's
not in this stream. No, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not. So there is a communication mechanism that happens at the modem and the main router for the houses that then facilitates all of this communication.
That's right. That's why I keep saying, like, I know there's a router in here somewhere because ultimately you have your internet coming in as well. And that is probably what it's plugging into is your home router.
So I have my little Cisco router icon. Where do I put it?
You put that between server and free videos, but you also need a modem too. So there's the modem and then there's the router, and that's two different things. They can be actually they could be the same thing. We just want to call them the same thing to make it easy.
It's fine. We could just represent it as to the same thing. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
A lot of people have the one that say the provider either gives them or they install it or whatever, and then you connect your like wireless home router to it. That's probably everybody has some version of a flavor of that, right?
So sit that router at the edge of house A, like sit it on the dotted line.
Yeah, in the network, but at the edge of house A. I think that's accurate. Yeah. Like just pull the network over.
There you go. Perfect. That's it.
And that's what's actually connecting to your free videos ultimately. You're just kind of going through your jellyfin's going through that to get to them.
Okay. And I'll just get the line here. So the idea is that we have this here and this, boom. And then obviously on the other side, we'll have a router as well, right?
Yes, in what Baco's house, or I don't know if that's yours or Baco's or whoever. That's yours, I guess, because you don't have the server. So House Brown and House whoops.
House Baco.
I think this House Baco.
Well, I wasn't going with House Andrew because then we'd be a bit in trouble here, but
that'd be a little bit.
And so obviously I have internet here over as well.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
So yeah, so he obviously has his own internet. I'm sure it's not relevant to what we're doing here, but I'm sure he does also have his own internet. Yeah, or you have your own.
I think he does.
But the server that's ingesting the free videos, that's only in Baco's house, right?
Yeah, I don't think it actually is valuable.
So this router is irrelevant. The second router in House Brown is irrelevant for the purposes of this diagram.
That's why I would say another thing with architectural diagramming is figure out what you're trying to convey and then try to cut out the noise, even if there's physically other stuff there. So actually,
so you don't want to know about my home office, which also has its own network and rack. That's all.
Not for this purpose. For this purpose, right? We'll do another diagram for House Brown's office. Okay. So let's go back over to the left because I think that's where we're working, right?
Okay.
Okay. So so there you got your Jellyfin. Really, I mean, honestly, it's not just your Jellyfin server. Actually, what it really is a server running Jellyfin and Gluton, and all of your torrenting applications. It's really all of those things, right? But that's fine. It's fine to say that, I guess.
I'd probably just make a little box like this here.
Yeah, and the only reason that's important is because all of those containers are actually going to end up with their own IP, like their own VPN connections and stuff like that.
And so I just put this here, and this will draw out to a new box, which will represent all that stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
If we even have time to document that, or if it's even worthwhile to do that.
But truthfully, it's all inside the same box. Really, what you're showing is really the internal network of that box running Docker, right?
Mm-hmm. So we have Jellyfin here. What else do we have? We have Gluten, which is doing a VPN tunnel. Why do they need a VPN tunnel? I guess to securely connect to it.
Because you're downloading legal videos.
Oh, I see. Oh, like it's like, is this like when you get NordVPN?
Yes,
like,
dude. Yes, that's exactly what this is. Have you not been?
Oh.
Okay. Yes, that's what
All right.
this
So,
is.
so I don't understand. There's just, why do we need these free videos?
Why do we
So
need VPN? Why do we need to hide ourselves? Okay.
what's your, like, I use private VPN. I think it's called private internet access. Tim, Chris, do you?
I use Nord. I have Nord for everything.
Nord, Tim? Roll your own?
I don't need to I have no reason to use VPNs.
Well,
Okay,
but
so
as a network person,
legit. I use NordVPN on my device, so I travel a lot for conferences and stuff.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I'm just
If
fun.
I need to do banking stuff on my phone and I'm in a hotel room, I jump on Nord before I do that.
That is good. That is a good thing to do, right? Hotel Wi-Fi is not what I would call the most secure, right? So yeah.
Or airport Wi-Fi.
Or
if I'm in an airport, actually, my company yelled at me for having Nord on there. I was like, I'm not using Nord.
Yeah. You got to give me something. If I'm not using Nord, you guys got to give me something.
Yep.
Fat client or app or something.
I use Nord for all my public use videos that I get as well. So I love
said,
that
Jason.
product.
Very well, yeah, well pointed. So yeah, I mean, like what Baco's built is a front end media server with a back end downloading anonymous downloading tools.
Right. And those are two separate like entities that are like they're linked together, but don't think that it's like one piece. Like, so he could download raw from the internet without using the VPN tunneler.
That's right.
But he's leveraging that as a go-between. And honestly, that from a network diagramming perspective, that's almost kind of irrelevant because we're just worried about packets to the edge.
Okay, so we wouldn't even
for this diagram.
Okay,
for this diagram, it's fine. Yeah,
you can put like you can put the dot. Yeah, exactly. You can. There you go.
Yeah, that's a good actually. That's a good one to do that. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is generally, and this is more in architecture. We could fix it. We cannot fix it. It's up to you. But generally with network diagrams, we don't use the arrows. We're just showing connections. Unless it's bidirectional, because we're assuming it's bidirectional. And we use if we use arrows, it's usually to show application flow, like which way is the traffic coming from and going to. But from a network connectivity perspective, we generally don't use the arrows, and that's just because we're talking about essentially cables, logical or physical. Here, direction is not relevant.
Okay,
this is coming together pretty well.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So do you want to, let's do this. Since we've got a decently built thing here, what we should probably do is test it by trying to packet walk from a client to the server and see if it breaks down anywhere, and then see if we can fill in the blanks.
You want to drive, Tim?
I don't know how to drive from here.
Sorry, were you saying like, can we?
No. What I mean is take your. Okay, so let's start at the smart TV, right? So smart TV needs to get to. We know that our smart TV wants to go to Jellyfin to open the application and start streaming videos, right?
Yes.
So the next step of that packet would be to go to your home router, which is the one that's connecting your whole network together. I don't know if we need to represent that or not. I guess it doesn't. It kind of matters, but it kind of doesn't matter. Again, this gets into the whole: is it physical or is it logical type of thing.
So I got a little packet here.
And so Tim and I were actually talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
What this process is called, and every network engineer that so I actually used to use this in my interview when I was interviewing somebody.
Oh yeah, same.
I would play this game called Be the Packet. When you play the game Be the Packet, if you're a network engineer, or if you are trying to understand either from an application layer or from a networking layer how things traverse your network, you play this game called Be the Packet, and you start from point A and you hop the packet through all of the layers that the packet needs to go through to wind up. Like if you are going to like google.com, start from your laptop and then go all the way to the Google server and explain in as granularly as humanly possible how you get the website google.com back on your browser.
That's right. That's right.
And that's exactly what we're doing here. But we're starting from the smart TV and going to the Jellyfin server on the other side. So we're walking the packet all the way through.
Yeah, and what I'm looking for is basically, is there something that is relevant to the flow of data that is not represented on the diagram that should be represented on the diagram, so we can fill in the blanks essentially, right?
Okay. So, but my question is, do we also write this out or no?
No, well, you say write this out, Pat, Andrew. I don't know
No,
what
no.
you mean.
So this is just more of like a thought. Like, well, I'm just saying, like, if I wanted
Like
to prove
literally
that I understood
document
the
the packet
network.
walk.
Well, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I have my repo wherever this is. I had it open here earlier, but like, let's say I wanted to demonstrate that I understand what it is that I'm looking at. Would I do technical documentation describing the route of a packet so that people would know that, oh, Andrew understands this network, like proof of work, other than the dark.
So,
I think
so
that's, yeah,
for
go ahead.
for a proper architectural diagram, you would have on the sides, you would have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then you would have like, like a little yellow one at the
Okay.
point in the
Yeah,
diagram
that's right.
saying like, okay, this is where the smart TV initiates the conversation.
Yeah.
Step 2 is where it traverses across, and you explain what is happening at each step of the diagram.
Yeah.
The events that are transpiring.
Okay.
Yeah. You could pair this with like a proof of work document just for students to be able to demonstrate that they understand like how the packet flow is working. I think that's fine. But just if we're keeping it just straight up, what would be on the architectural diagram, you wouldn't have like a big walkthrough of with detailed,
Well, I was just more
Chris
thinking,
said.
like, imagine people that are watching this and they're going, okay, I see this network, but how do I articulate it later on? And I thought maybe if we wrote it out, that
No, that's fine.
it's like you have practice to shadow, like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I'm a network engineer, and this is how they would talk through it. Because, like, you know what I'm saying?
So,
But what I'll do here is I'm just going to make I don't really like that one, but
Yeah.
the point is we'll have steps over here, and you said let's make some markers. So I'm
Mhm.
going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller, and we'll give it a nice little color like yellow.
Mhm.
Or purple, or
Just something to stand out on the diagram. That's
okay,
fine.
purple it
Whatever
is.
you wanna do. Yeah.
And so, and maybe we'll make the text white. That actually
So it could just be like Chris said, it would start with a 1, and that would be, like the smart
or
TV,
one,
basically.
sure. Okay, so the 1 is the smart TV. What are we
Yeah.
describing here about the smart TV?
We're originating a request to the Jellyfin server from the smart TV, right? To the Jellyfin IP address at the port listed.
Okay, one second. Sorry. So we are
Smart TV initiates request to Jellyfin IP.
Yeah. Technically, let's just say
over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say we should maybe just say Jellyfin server, and then you could put the IP or the port or whatever. I'm with you. I'm following you. I just don't know how best to.
Yeah.
Okay. Step 2.
So step 2 is a part that's not on the diagram, which is somewhere in the middle here. You have an actual home router that's connecting the white box to the smart TV. They're not connected directly together. There's no cable from the white box going to the smart TV, right?
A router here, right?
Yeah, it's inside network B. There's a router, and we don't care about the the internet connection. We're just gonna. That's fine, I guess. Yeah,
Okay.
That's fine. So packet goes to home router.
Okay.
Okay, right. Step 3 would be router. I don't know if it should say router sends packet or just router routes packet, but packet goes to white box from there, basically from the router.
To white box. I like how we kept with that name.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go here. Yep.
That's right. All right.
Now 4 is the other end of the white box.
Yep, you got it. Yep, it's all yours. Yep. And basically the same in reverse ultimately, right? 5 goes to Baco's home router.
Okay. And so then we have this one. So this is now going to here.
Yep, goes to Baco's home router. Right?
Where's 6?
6 would be the server. Would be the Jellyfin server.
Okay, and this is where it stops?
No, down in the Docker stack.
Okay, then yes, that works. Yep, the Jellyfin server. So go ahead, finish documenting that. Yeah. That would be smart. That would be the flow for smart TV requests application from Jellyfin server.
Okay, so now I'm ready to type. What do we want for 5?
Where's 5 again on the other side?
Baco's home router. Packet goes from white box
Baco's
to
home router?
to Baco's home router or home router.
And then this packet goes to Jellyfin server.
You got it.
Now that's exactly half of the communication path.
Exactly.
Once that communication path is established, it then feeds it all the way back. So
walks it
and we're
back,
not going to write 7 through 12, but there's the responses to the smart TV as well.
Yeah, which comes back. We don't have to document the return because it looks exactly the same, but just be aware that 7 through 12 would be, it walks back in reverse, basically. The reply comes back in reverse. And that's the smart TV to Jellyfin, right? But there's and this is where things again can get complicated. And this is generally why we break up architectural diagrams depending on what we're trying to show. Because there's an entirely different thing that happens when the Jellyfin server wants to download new media from torrent sites, for example, like completely different application flow. So
what we'll do is we will copy this entire diagram into another tab and then explain the functions of the second application. And then there will be another tab for the gluten thing, drilling down into those specific sections. Each functionality is literally its own diagram, because if we try to put all of them into this one diagram, it would
be a mess.
It'd be a shotgun pattern across, it'd be covered in purple dots.
Yeah, and none of them would make any sense once you get them all together.
Okay, so literally we would just keep the base template and just keep changing the paths.
That's right. That's right.
We don't have to draw lines between the dots or squiggles.
No, I mean that's what the numbers are for, right?
Okay.
The numbers imply the path, because you have the diagram, you have the lines in the diagram already.
Now, when I'm designing this, should I make the dots so that if they were to connect the dots, it would make some kind of picture? Like
that would be fantastic. Yeah, like a frog.
Yeah, make it look like a Pikachu or something.
And Jason, would that get you the job?
Absolutely. I think all the dots should connect, and it should create the image that you display on the TV.
Okay,
there you go. Server. Perfect.
Or Bart Simpson.
We got a couple questions.
I like Bart Simpson.
Sorry, we got a couple questions. Tim Manning says, does the smart TV need an application to make the requests, or is it the operating system? I would think that it's the application.
There's a browser or something running on your smart TV, and that's what you're or maybe it has an app. Maybe there's a Jellyfin app on the TV, smart TV. It could just be a browser
client. There's some kind of client that knows about the Jellyfin server.
That's right. That's right.
There's an app, or we might, if we want to sound more technical, a process that is running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Tim doesn't like whatever.
Why not?
Just go with it. Just go with it. You're killing me here.
So go ahead.
But we have another question. I think there was another question here.
Johnny's, what is the Tory Gate?
What is the Tory
Andrew,
Gate?
as soon as you start bragging about the Tory, they're just throwing people off.
Everybody's like, what does this have to do with networking?
Carpentry bragging.
This connects him closer to Japan. That's the connection. That's the connection. Anyway,
let me know what the Docker square is for. Sorry, can someone let me know what the Docker square is for? We're talking about down here below.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this server is running Docker, which is a container service running multiple containers. And so all we've done is made this box to say like all of this stuff, because I was going to go here and like add all these boxes in here, because there's multiple containers running, not just Jellyfin. There's maybe if we go back over to here, I think that these are
there is. It's on the it's all in the same box. But if you want to show the architectural diagram that shows the path to the VPN and ultimately to the torrents, that's where we would want to really blow this out, because that's where all the networking is. It's on this server.
Yeah. But here you can see there's like a bunch of ports. So like my point was I'm not saying that you should, but I would have, because I don't know any better. I would have just had all these little boxes here. I would have boxed everything up like crazy. Yeah.
So one thing I want to bring up though, this is still a little bit, and this is a good diagram actually, but it's still a little bit. It's a good mix between application layer and network layer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of like because when I built network diagrams, and the network diagrams I'm building, this is not this, and I'm not saying we change it, but I want to make people aware of like how a network diagram might be slightly different. Network diagrams are usually focused on the physical connections between networking devices. This is a little bit more conceptual, which is fine because that's what we're focused on. We're focused on the application and the flow here. Just be aware that you're going to see other networking diagrams in the bootcamp that are not going to be this conceptual. They're going to be much more like, hey, here's cable A, here's cable B, and here's these two devices that are connected together. So you're going to see much more physical layer. For the cloud ones, it's actually more like this, where because cloud is very conceptual, right? You don't have cables running connecting devices in the cloud, but just
back in ye olden days when we had the Excel spreadsheet with the ports and what cable was plugged into what port.
That's how before IPAM apps came along. That's literally how I did it. I had the Excel spreadsheets with all of that mapped out. It was a beautiful matrix.
So VB says, I believe the white boxes must be in the same network. And so just from a visual, okay, but from a visual perspective, like if you don't know what you're looking at, and I don't, it looks like they aren't in the same network because there's no box drawn all around them. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, they're not in the same network because you need to fix the IP addresses.
Well, I fixed this one, 192 over here.
No, 192.168. You got 0. They should be .3.
Oh.
Because the shared network is 3.0 /
sorry.
30.
So this
yeah.
one.
So great catch. Great catch there.
Nope. .3. There you go.
It'd be 192.168 3.2 3 or
2 and
1.
3.1.
Yeah, 2 and 1. Sorry. Yes.
192.168
3.2 for the one that you're on, and the other one is 192.168 3.1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the way we've documented subnet B or whatever that subnet above. See, it doesn't match. So great catch on that. Okay. That's yeah. Okay. So that was good. So yeah. So this is what I would take. I would stamp this out. If we wanted to show other application flows, we would do that. This is good, actually. I feel pretty good about this. We packet walked it through. I think there's not a device we're missing. I think it's good.
So, but Dee was asking, aren't the white boxes multi-home connected to the home networks, but also establishing a network between them?
Correct. Yes, correct. Technically, the white box should also have an IP address on the home network. I don't know what it is, but they should have an IP address on the home network as well.
Johnny's asking, the middle green rectangle is confusing. Is that a literal empty lot between Andrew's and Baco's house?
It is.
It is. It's a big empty green lot. Well, actually, it's like my personal garden. But I have like domes.
Johnny wasn't here at the beginning when we were yelling at you, Andrew.
Yeah, we were talking about the Tory gate and the windows and the lot.
Why do we need the window? Explain that. What is this window happening here?
The red dots like representing like obviously it's not lasers, but I like to imagine that it's a laser.
Yes. Don't stand in front of it. Don't get between it while you're walking through the empty lot.
We only have like 6 more minutes. So I feel like if you tasked somebody to make this and they came back with this, what would their grade be, Tim?
Passing? I don't know. I mean,
at your work. Like imagine you work for example training as the network engineer, and I'm like, go do this, and then you have a junior, and they come back with this.
Absolutely. So here's the thing: it depends on what I ask them to do. If the question, because ultimately what we've done here is we've documented to some degree the physical. Like we've got the white boxes and they're connected. We know there's a radio connection between them. We know that that we have a home network and the smart TVs and whatnot. If I ask them like, hey, how does your, what I want you to document for me is how can Andrew's smart TV connect to this media server in Baco's house? I would say this is like 100% accurate, right? This is exactly what I asked for.
And it even connects out to the Ethernet.
The Ethernet is really important. Yeah,
that's super important.
We need the Ethernet connection to get the torrents.
And so just to answer Ramsey's question about like what are we selecting to download, I don't get to choose what I watch. Baco downloads it, and we share.
Baco controls everything in Andrew's world.
Controls everything in Andrew's world.
And we don't have we can't actually have separate profiles. It's just like I get a bunch of like Greek shows because his wife likes Greek stuff and other stuff, and I ask for things like, can you download me Iron Chef in Japanese in 1980s or other?
Like, no, that's an IP violation because that's an IP violation, and we would not promote.
You would not do that.
illegal activities on here.
Yeah. So basically, just public domain war, like war propaganda footage is what we
Gone
have.
with
Yeah,
the Wind,
exactly.
good stuff.
Public access channel stuff. But so there's that stuff there. Now, let's say I want to take this further. Like I'm like, okay, this is working great. Now I want to skirt the laws, and I want to purchase a DVD library, rip them, and I want to do a rental service from the technology center
Rental
over here.
service. You're going all the way in, aren't you?
Wow. Wow.
I like you know this isn't a joke, right?
In
I hope
Canadian
it is.
news, massive fraud uncovered in Northern Ontario.
Jesus.
So, but
Oh my God.
imagine I purchased a church for this purpose, and it has
Oh
a
my
nice
God.
tall spire, right?
Oh
Okay.
my
I am not party to this. I just got
I
a new
don't know
job with the
anything
new
about
company.
this.
I
And
don't know
so
what is happening.
let's say I mount a dish to the top of it,
Oh
right?
my
So
God.
what kind of infrastructure would I need to build a global mesh across the town, right?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Stay tuned for our second episode where we speak live from in jail, everybody.
Anyway, so but anyway, I think
my
we've had a
God.
lot of fun here. I think what we should do is start switching gears over
Yeah.
to the career stuff. So I guess my question now is like, we built all this. Besides this diagram, what else do we need to communicate that we know what we're looking at? Like if I'm in an interview and Tim, you're trying to hire and I show up with this diagram, what do I got to do to impress you?
Well, okay, so I mean, we're assuming that somebody literally shows up with this in their hand or on their phone or something like that, right? So I really don't have to ask them any questions. I would say everything I would want to know about what they understand about how this works is documented here. Like in terms of going from Andrew's smart TV to Jellyfin server, I wouldn't have to ask any questions like, hey, walk the packet with me or anything like that. I think I would understand just from looking at the picture that they at least understand the packet flow. I would probably be mean and do what I've done 100 times, what Chris has done 100 times, just be like, okay, you showed me the photo here. Now actually like explain it to me. Like in depth. That's probably
I guess would you want to know like their technical choices? Like why did they choose it this like is there
other
ways
they
they could have done it?
So this is okay. So now we're saying this is not what's happened. They're not documenting it for me. I gave them the task to make this work, and now this is the design they're submitting. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Sure.
Then yeah, no, I would definitely feel like this person understood how to connect. Yeah, understood the assignments. Yeah, no, I think you're
okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, think of it from an interview perspective. Like I'm trying to weed out, does this person know what they're doing and why did they make those choices, right?
As long as they can defend those choices, like I would still probably ask them, why did you
Okay.
choose to do this? And they could defend that choice. I would 100% believe that they passed the assignment. Yeah.
But what questions would you ask?
Okay. So first of all, how did are you aware that it is illegal to download certain things? I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but seriously, to that point, explain your use cases, justifications, and rationale. What are the pros and cons and pain points that you experienced as you were weighing out the different design decisions? You chose to do a point-to-point laser beam in between two windows. Why didn't you go with a different technology for that, like a hard fiber line or
mount a radio on the roof or something, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
There's a bunch of questions that you can do to pick apart a design like this, and that would go into one of like a networking center of excellence.
Agreed.
What did you call them, Tim? We used to call them the firing line, but that's terrible.
Oh, you mean like where you'd go to defend your designs or like honestly, I usually get them in cab is what I would get them is in the
there you go
change board when you're trying to when you're proposing a change, they'd be like, why'd you do it this way? Why don't we do it this way? How much downtime is it going to be? If there's any downtime, like what applications are going to be affected and why can't you do it without affecting these applications? That kind of stuff, right?
Yep. Cab was the real name. We called it the firing line.
That's more to the point, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so CAB stands for
Change Advisory Board.
Yeah.
Change of.
Oh, do you have a different A?
Change Advisory Board.
Yeah, Change Advisory Board.
Okay. So pros and cons of different design decisions.
Yep, that's a big one. Also, what you know, if I'm saying they came back and they're saying this is my design and I'm submitting it, the big question I would ask them as a networking person is, you know, have you built in any resiliency, redundancy, any kind of self-healing, any way to recover from failure? What's your recovery from failure plan with this design?
Did you confirm that you picked subnet ranges that don't cross over with anything else in the network?
Big one. Yeah, also a good one. Also a good one. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so but we're just talking about the fact that this is hard coded. Like there's not.
It
like,
is.
Okay,
It
so
is. This is a very basic network. I
Okay.
think we're being.
So
That is something you would do in a real network. You would have to ask all of these questions, like, you know, are you using from the available IP address pool, for example? Have you put this through IPAM? Basically, have you verified that these IP addresses are not being used elsewhere on the network? You know, or something like that is definitely something that would come up.
what would you do to resolve? What would you do to resolve like networking overlapping networking conflicts?
Overlapping network problems or something like that, or will this design cause any overlapping network problems, and how will you resolve them, or something like that?
Okay.
But I mean, ultimately, with networking is water and power, right? Like it's infrastructure. So everything you think you would probably need to do, questions you would need to ask about a civil engineer that's going to say, I want to build a road here to alleviate traffic problems. Think about all the questions that they're going to get
Oh,
about
that's a great analogy for that. I like
yeah.
that.
So like, hey, is this gonna, you know, have you called Miss Utility? Are you gonna dig up any? Are you gonna bring in any fiber seeking backhoes to destroy all the infrastructure,
Right.
all the networking? Like, you know,
And
what's
the
the
analogy
impact?
for that is, have you talked to the applications teams
Mhm.
to understand like the existing spider web of networking that's already out there? What are you potentially
Gonna
clipping underneath
impact.
the ground?
Yep, exactly. That's a
Okay.
huge one, a big one,
I like
really
that
big
analogy.
one.
I'm totally stealing that for the next
So,
time.
you heard it here, guys. Chris is a thief, and I'll let him have it.
I am a thief. I am a thief.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding, man. I didn't make that up.
It was public domain, so it's
exactly. It was
fine.
public domain. You torrented it from public domain server, so it's fine.
Now, for those that like they're learning networking and they might not fully understand this diagram, could they screenshot this, go to ChatGPT, feed these questions, and then see what the results are to kind of have a sense of like how they might try to answer it to shadow it, or
I
would
would
that
totally
produce
try to
bad
do that.
results?
I have no idea.
I honestly do
would-
not know the answer to your question. I've never
Okay.
done it. I think for one, obviously, it doesn't understand the diagram, so there's that. But I mean, if you mean generally, like, hey, you know, somebody's asking me this question, how might I answer it if I'm making a network design? I am curious to see what it would say. I actually don't know. If I would say try it, and I would love to know what it has to say, actually.
Okay. So, so there's that. I'm just trying to think of like, you know, if I don't know anything, how do I, and I don't have access to a networking engineer, and I don't have an example of one, how can I even get there and start working through it? And so I'm just thinking like, okay, you asked all these things and I might have this diagram. And so I might try to get an LLM to describe it to me so that I at least have some kind of feedback loop. Obviously having a professional is way better because LLMs just spit out nonsense. But if you have nothing, I guess the other thing is that you just
the
research.
prompt would be if you were going to take a screenshot and then feed it in there, the prompt would be, I am not a network engineer. Assume the role of a network engineer. Take a look at this diagram. Explain it to me in terms of a non-network engineering. Poke holes in it if there are best practices conflicts with this diagram. Call them out, but explain them to me as well, like I'm a 5-year-old. Yada yada yada.
Okay, this is just me not knowing. Is the LLM capable of reading a diagram?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Got it. I've never tried, so that's great. So in that case, yeah, exactly what Chris says. I'm going to give you a diagram. POKE, by the way, poke holes in it. POKE, poke, like me poking you. Yes, like Jason's poking. Anyway, yeah, I like that. Poke hole, especially if you can understand a diagram. That's perfect, right?
Did I spell poke right?
No.
POKE.
POKE. Oh, poke, like not
you
polka.
spelled the president, James Polk. Yes. Anyway, yeah, poke holes in it. Tell me why this might not be best practice. let me think. Assume the role of a network engineer. By the way, I don't know how it can assume the role of a network diagram. But
Okay,
yes.
fair enough.
Oh, did I say
Regardless.
network?
No,
Yeah,
you didn't.
yeah.
You didn't.
Okay.
Andrew was trying to follow. Andrew was trying to follow fast. So, no worries. Yeah, I love it. Explain it to me as a as a person who is not a network engineer, probably, and poke holes in this design. Tell me where I might have resilience challenges with resilience or something like that. Like, basically tell me where if I build this and something breaks, that I'm going to be down far longer than I should be, because it's not resilient.
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
That will. So maybe for Jason. Like Jason, I guess my question is like, obviously, a lot of people are using LLMs to fake it till they make it, but I'm basically suggesting people to kind of do that right now. How do they go beyond that and really show their skills? Do you have any thoughts, or you've heard anything about this?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of building out prompts to learn. But you have to take the extended steps. I think that there's a sniff test that Chris and Tim could probably speak to, since they've had these conversations with engineers that do know what they're talking about and don't. And I think it's going to be very obvious when somebody gets information from an LLM but doesn't actually know the supporting content or the
For sure.
principles behind it. Um, and I would definitely caution people when they do this, like, take what the LLM gives you and then do the extensive like research on each answer to make sure that it actually did read the diagram too. I just want to give a round of applause to Andrew for this. Is a networking fundamentals boot camp, and he is treating it as if he does not in fact know any of this stuff. I love he's playing that part. It's giving me tons of information. I think you guys hit all the nails on the head that I was going to bring up. Like, document everything, because you have to be able to speak to it. Tim said that if he's going to look at that diagram and you bring it to him, he's going to ask you questions about it. You have to be able to speak to all the points you bring up. If that's on your resume or LinkedIn, or if anybody can see anything that you created, if you can't back it up or articulate the points, then you don't know it. You don't know it well enough for the role. So, and if you do, you have to figure out the best ways to communicate those things. And we can kind of work on how to do those. But honestly, my homework for everybody this week is, you had your first class, start documenting the stuff that they talked about, like the objectives, the tools that they were talking about, steps that were taken. Like, I didn't know about packet tracing. Like, that was super interesting to me. What the outcome was, and then any challenges, all of that stuff. Because again, when Tim tries to ask you that slip up question, like, those are the types of things that they're going to poke holes in real fast. So you want to be able to talk to all those points in depth. That's all I have. I would say definitely use the LLMs though, and I'm curious how it'll read the diagrams, because I know it can detect images and like nuances, but without like the proper prompting. I'll be interested to see what people get for responses.
Well, we can find out in 2 seconds here. I was going to say to Tim, like, obviously, I can go in and I can kind of like crash course, do like a cram exam with an LLM to try to look like I know what I'm doing. Kind of like when I do my Japanese lessons and I get a perfect sentence down. Like, oh, you know Japanese now. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
But packet trace or something that you show later in the course, is that something that we could simulate this thing in? And if I showed up with you and I said, hey, I'm going to share my screen, I'm going to show you, I built this in packet tracer and let's walk through it. Is that a stronger proof of irrefutable evidence that I can do it? Because can someone say like, go make this in packet tracer? And
you could do this in packet tracer. It would be emulated because packet tracer isn't real. It's actually, so we in the boot camp, and I don't remember if we showed the entire list of everything that's in the boot camp yet, but packet tracer is it's emulated, not simulated, which is to say it's kind of like a call and response. It's kind of fake, essentially. It's not real routers and switches in it, but it's good for learning. So you could build this in packet tracer. It wouldn't look exactly like that diagram, right? Like, we don't have radio in packet tracer, but you would just do it with a simulated like link between two routers or something like that. Yeah, you could build this in packet tracer.
okay. But
or in CML.
what I'm trying to say is, like, if you showed up with this and then you said, "Hey, let's go explore this network in packet
Oh,
tracer,"
I see. Like
is that
okay.
even stronger? Because, like, I'm just trying to think of, like,
I think so.
because Jason says, like, what's the sniff test? And I'm thinking, well, literally, like, if I wanted to prove something, I would. Not all interviewers are going to let you do this, obviously, but smaller startups will let you do it. But like, if I was a smaller startup, I would literally open up the app and start walking them through it. I would show them all layers of the code and talk about why I did it. If there's a technical person, and it would make it irrefutable, because I'm like, yeah, I wrote it like this. This is why I put it here. This is why I did that. Would Packet Tracer be the equivalent of that? Or you go, yeah, I don't want to see that.
If we're just talking about what a network engineering or networking interview looks like, generally, instead of like Packet Tracer, what they'll do is they'll put you right in front of a whiteboard and give you 4 or 5 pens and be like, build it, like show me, draw it out, and then walk me through. So you would end up drawing essentially the diagram. Now, I have had, years ago, I went to, I think it was at a hospital or something. I took an interview, and in the interview, they set aside an hour. They gave me like a few switches and a few routers and said, here's a lab. I want you to actually build this network that's part of this lab. And I actually had to get in and configure all the devices, connect them together and everything, and make the lab work within an hour. That's more likely something like nowadays that's, you see it less and less. But a Packet Tracer or CML, Cisco Modeling Labs, would be more likely to be something like that. But yes, in terms of proof of work, obviously making something work, actually configuring something, will always be a much stronger proof of work than simply pointing at a diagram and talking through what should be happening, right? Obviously.
So feeding this diagram into here in our prompt, we're getting information back. And so obviously it's asking things like, why is there a Tory gate? And what does this empty thing mean? So clearly, goofy things should not be in there, because then it throws people off and they might think you're a goof. But even here, it's like you're crossing subnets and that's using a white boxes. What are they actually talking about in the public space? If this is meant to simulate a VPN between white boxes, it needs port forwarding, NAT traversal, stuff like that. And so,
see, I actually disagree with that. So it's funny.
But the point is that whether you disagree or not, the point is it brought up those terms, and then you go, what do all those things mean, right? And then once you understand what all those things mean, then you ask a question. Did I actually need those? And was that right? But you have to come back and ask those questions. You can't just assume that's correct. This is more just to unfurl keywords for you to go look up, to investigate, to fully understand. Because like, if you're learning something, you were like, oh, well, what are all these things? And what do they serve? And are they really the solution that I need? And then you need to decide, does that make sense? Not whether the LLM makes sense. The LLM is just going to throw stuff at you to help you explore. But it's not going to be, unless it's fine-tuned. And Tim made this LLM with an agent and he went all these scenarios. It's not necessarily going to give you stuff that you're going to want to utilize.
Yeah, just real quick, a couple of the questions that it seems to have struggled with, like for example, the one about NAT traversal and all that, is because we didn't physically connect some of the elements together. Like I said, this was like a half physical, half conceptual diagram, and how certain diagrams would have like literally like device A cable, device B cable. That's another thing. Like when it comes to having an LLM interpret your diagram, the more it expects you to be very, very what would I say? Prescriptive, not prescriptive. Yeah, verbose and literal, if you will. It doesn't understand conceptual well at all, I would say.
I just want to say that every time that you guys have said Packet Tracer, I
know.
think Tracket Pacer.
I know.
And
Lexi, I know.
Has ruined it for me.
I love Lexi. She's awesome.
So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to dump in my proof of work under here in diagramming. Boot campers, if you're watching, what I want you to do is make this technical diagram, or if not this one, something similar. Whatever you can diagram, try to diagram it. And in here, I have a journal.md, and I have this here, but the idea is that try to ask questions about your network, whatever network you want to build or conceptualize. It could be a super small, I don't care. But I just want to see that you're trying to do your best effort. And then make your diagram and then screenshot your diagram right here. I'm going to go to Paint and I'm just going to save this here. I'm going to drop that into there. I'll do this afterwards because I want to focus on something else. But, go ahead and do that. But I might do a small follow-up video to make it really, really clear what it is that I'm looking for here. But I'll just say diagramming here, and we'll go ahead and push that. What I want to talk about is the README page in this bootcamp. So in boot camps, what I'm looking for is something that is very detailed. And actually, now that we have some boot campers, Ramsey, would it be okay if I showed your Gen AI boot camp? Because Ramsey, who's in the chat here, is a Red Squatter. Would it be okay if I showed your project homepage? And I'll see if I get a confirmation here, because I want to show what I'm saying is that I think that a lot of folks, they do a lot of good work, but they don't. It says yes, great, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off here, and then maybe we can get Jason's opinion about like what looks like good proof of work and maybe how we can improve that. So I'm going to go here. It'll take me just a moment to forms. I'm doing this off screen. I'm just talking so you folks know I'm doing something. I'm not just goofing around. And we're going to go to the Gen AI final submissions. We're going to go submissions. We're going to look for Red Squad. Red Squad are folks that met my highest standard for the boot camp. And I'm looking for Ramsey here for the repo. And in the submissions, here we go. So this is what a Red Squatter looks like in our big boot camps. Okay, so if we go down below, right away, we're getting the repository. And by the way, I did not provide I provide very little instruction to the last boot camp in terms of what this is. And so I'm trying to show you what naturally looks good to me. There's other things that I would like to have, but everyone does it a little bit different. But everything is here that I would like to see. So here we have a repository structure, explains what the website is. We have a bootcamp summary, a scenario of what they're doing, their planned applications. They point specifically to their notes for each week. It's very clear. We have a roadmap.md, right? That really makes it clear in terms of this information. The things that they needed to do this, the challenges, the resources, and even going into these other ones. Like if I go into actually this projects folder, I actually adopted this structure. If you notice over here, I did projects because I saw Ramsey do it, and I was like, you know what, that is more organized, and I'm going to do that in future boot camps. So I'm learning from my boot campers as well when they're working through their projects, right? And so even every single one of these have full documentation, right? So this is an example of this. But what I'm trying to say is that I want to try to create something that is more prescriptive here on this page, on this README, that will better demonstrate your skills up front. Because what can happen is that you can provide too much information, you can provide a little too information. You can provide a lot of technical information, but you're not showing you yourself. And so what I'm thinking here is like, I want to create some kind of template. And I'm thinking what I would really like to see is if people are comfortable with it, if you can try to shoot a video demo. I know that sounds like a big ask. If you can't do it, that's fine. But the first thing I would like to see is a video demo, because I think that when people are hiring, and Jason, if you can confirm this, is that they want to know your communication skills. And to me, one of the highest form of pieces of content that will demonstrate your communication skills is video. Jason, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, being able to communicate person to person, I think, again, articulating the points face to face, if you're having a conversation with Tim or Chris, being able to communicate your knowledge to them in a way that helps them understand that you could potentially be the person that they want on their team. They know you can solve the problems based on the information you gave them. They know you can communicate what you're trying to say in a way that they also understand. I think a video is a good idea. And I like the idea of a template, because if I was looking for a technical documentation engineer, this repo is beautiful. But based on what the initial talk about in the class was, I'm not necessarily seeing the structure. Well, I guess this isn't a networking repository or README,
right.
So I guess that makes sense. Focusing on that information, like first, and then getting to the talking points. I feel like you need like that hook to make them want to talk to you. Give them that first initial, okay, this person knows what he's talking about, let's find out more. I think a video would be good for that, because again, if you can get those key points out there and convey it in a way that flows and shows that you do have good communication skills, that could be hook enough.
So I might say like video demonstration, and I'm thinking here what I'm thinking about is show me that you technically know what you're doing, like to the scope that you know it, right? This could be we do packet tracer. Maybe it's the packet tracer video where Tim has set it up, and you're going through and you're saying, here I've set it up, and I'm walking a packet through the network, and I'm making sense of this. So something that is short, that has your communication skills. If you don't want to do video, that's totally fine. But I want folks to consider that. So this will be technical video demonstration of whatever it is that you want in this bootcamp. Could be showing off Linux skills or something like anything that you want. I think that having a strong diagram or something that really stands out to help understand your presentation skills would be useful. So I'd like to see like a technical diagram. So it could be the technical diagram that we did here. It could also be like, let's say, a screenshot of like the packet tracer one. But I would like to see a technical diagram. Folks, do you like technical diagrams? Does it help stand out and start a conversation, seeing something right off the bat?
It's extremely important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what else there might be. I would like to know exactly where, like a lot of times people do really good journaling, but I can't find it, right? Like I need to be told exactly where to look to help me see it. So do you think maybe a journal would be useful and a list of it, or like in summary, or
in terms of like journal, like, hey, these are the things that I ran into while doing this assignment. Like, you mean like documenting the assignment? Yeah, I think that's very useful.
Yeah,
I like seeing their thought process.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
what they learned along the way and what they picked up. I think that's very valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
I think as far as like what I'm kind of understanding as far as the hierarchy of importance here, especially where, you know, Tim, you mentioned like the whiteboarding, having that be kind of prominent for you guys to just get that initial assessment, that ocular pat down, if you will. You could go into the journaling, and if you've got them correlating to the diagrams, then you've got the talking points for each diagram. So again, if you see the diagram and you're like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's doing, then you go to that journal entry. Okay, here's the workflow, here's the problem he solved, here's how he did it. Okay, again, like I would be seeing this, and those would be the steps I take. You've always got that like hierarchy or rankings of things. Like once they hit that first bucket, okay, let's move to the next one, let's check that out. Okay, now we're I like the idea of the journaling too, because it's also showing your growth. If there's a couple entries where it's like, oh, you ran into the same thing twice, where's the deficiency here? So it's good feedback overall.
So I have here video demonstration, technical diagram, and then here this might point to that specific, because maybe you're just highlighting one thing out of your entire journal that you might just want to jump to this one so that they could read more about it. So maybe that's the idea there. But yeah, again, it depends on what it is. So obviously this one was a developer one. For networking, you probably want to see a different kind of things. So I'll have to have a little bit more of a think of it, but I think that, you know, before the end of the bootcamp, we'll have something strongly materialized, but I want to try to make this more of a stronger habit in our bootcamps, to make some kind of very prescriptive README page. And I will know as the bootcamp probably progresses. I'll definitely know after week 1. But I'll have to think about this. So I will have to try to actually make one myself, like for real. And then if I do that, then I can have a stronger feedback loop of, does this look good or not? Sorry, yes, Tim?
Andrew, Ramsey had a really good question in the chat. Remember in the grading rubric, we had talked about stand-ups for like minor, which basically I think ended up being like minor documentation. How is that different than the journaling that we're talking about?
So stand-ups are, imagine we are all together at our daily stand-up or weekly. I haven't seen my team in a week. Just tell me what you did. And we only have 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You just got to tell me in 2 lines. That the reason I do that is I want people to practice conciseness and brevity, and trying to focus on exactly the information that I need and no more than that information to get our team moving. Right. Whereas technical journaling is like, oh, can you, like, it's like more of the weeds of what happened. Right. So you might at a glance just say like, yeah, I worked on this problem, but it didn't work so-and-so. Well, what do you mean it didn't work for so-and-so? Jump into my journal. We'll break it down, like all the steps of it. And so to me, that is the distinguishing difference. A lot of folks got confused, and they would put what I would want in the journal into that and vice versa. But our journal, like, imagine if you have to use Markdown to tell me what your stand-up is, then you're giving me too much information.
Okay.
Right. So, and for folks, and I'll have to make this really clear, when you do the stand-ups, which is just like 1 or 2 sentences, you don't need to do any markup. It's going to be literally one sentence, okay? But yeah, updating the PM exactly as Ultraman is saying there. But I think, and by the way, we have some Red Squad boot campers. Maybe they have some suggestions on how to make this template better as well. But I'm going to try to make something. We're going to use Jason as a feedback loop. We'll use Tim and Chris and Shala as a means to saying, like, is this good for as a networking for as someone there? And then we'll get feedback. And so hopefully we can all work together to better showcase our skills. We are going to have office hours, after class Q&A here in 5 minutes. So folks, if you aren't in the Discord, get in the Discord, as that process is a little bit complex. Maybe we can take a look at the grading rubric as we're here. We'll go ahead and just commit work in progress template. But folks, what do you think? Do you think that making like a 3-4 minute video is too taxing, or you'd be comfortable doing that? Has anyone ever made a video before? I'm just curious. Can I get a Y if you've ever made a technical video before, and an N if you've never done it before? Is anyone voice or camera shy? Don't have to be on camera, but I just mean, like, has anyone ever had an issue with that?
I think that it would be good extra credit, but when I'm looking at like networking diagrams and stuff like that, I'm looking for the stuff that we built today, not necessarily like a video version of it. I mean, if people want to do that and that's super fun, I wouldn't make it a requirement though.
Okay, but this here is a big ask, and so folks, we have time to think about it. So I would just sit on this, and we will develop this a little bit further. But I would like to try to push this and see who's able to do it. But again, it's going to be optional.
I think it'd be good practice for somebody if they wanted to do it, though. Like, I think that is something you might be called to do at some point. But I completely agree with Chris. If we're just talking about, like, line level work, that's nobody's opening up a video to watch a video presentation of a diagram. That is true. But I think the skills of doing it are probably somewhat useful.
Yeah, and D says there, video presentations make more sense for bigger, longer boot camps. It absolutely does. But again, I'm trying to unfurl where there are technical gaps for folks. And so for me, it's more like a tech check, like, can you do it, as opposed to, like, is it quality, right? Because I just never know I did not know that a lot of folks did not know how to take screenshots from the computer, right? So maybe this is another small little technical thing. But again, if people aren't comfortable with it, it's totally fine. Just trying to add more variation there. I'm not sure if there's anything else to add. Jason, do you want to tell us anything about Torque?
So we help, I mean, this is specifically why I'm here, is again, it's trying to figure out the best ways to take what you're learning here today and implement it in how you get a job. We do have jobs available. We have clients who are looking for all sorts of different kinds of technologists, from engineers, DevOps engineers. We do also have, like, the hardware side networking engineer roles that come up from time to time. You can create a profile, check out what we have. But again, we're more focused on the community side, which is, again, why I'm here, is helping you upskill and communicate what you're learning or what you already know to get you a job, whether it's on our platform or somewhere else. Leveling everybody up is the name of the game. So I like the idea of the video as well, because you've got to be able to shift gears in communication sometimes. So it might not be a requirement, but it is something that maybe, again, down the road, like speaking in front of camera, being able to articulate and communicate verbally some of the thoughts. These are the things that make you a well-rounded employee and teammate. Being able to talk in different things, and again, shift gears to long form explanations, or again, being able to talk about the couple points you need to bring up in a sprint. All very good things to build out your abilities as a developer or engineer. So if anybody has any questions, obviously they can just find me in the Discord.
So for Torque, do they have any additional free resources to, like, resume building or things like, and where would they find that?
Yeah, we have, if you go to torque.community, that is our community page. We have a Discord link that is there. We have a resume template right on the community page, but you can come in. We do resume reviews, LinkedIn reviews, educational resources like this. We did, post and market about the boot camp here. Again, just ways to help people level up and get to where they need to be. So
So cal.torque.dev, they can find the schedule for things.
Yep, those are all our streaming events. We post any of the workshops or educational things usually in there as well. We've got links to resources down at the bottom, and then the Discord is where most of the stuff is happening. So
And this is free?
Yep.
What's the catch?
There is no catch. Our clients are the ones that we make the money off of. But at the end of the day, the more developers that we have in there that are qualified for roles, the better we are. So, and the more people we can get into roles.
Yeah. So folks, if you're listening, Torque is incentivized for you to get a job. So these resources are free. Try to make try to make them available. Maybe you can try to bringing some of the stuff that we have here and helping it get massaged into something that looks like what people want to see on the other side. But we are out of time. If anyone has more questions, we're going to have those over in the after class Q&A. That's for 30 minutes. That's going to be in the after class channel. So any of our guest instructors, if you have time, we'd love to see you there. But hopefully this was great for everybody. I don't have Bako. Normally we have like a song and an animation and stuff. I don't have any of that. All I can do is basically end the stream. I know it's really sad, but
we are but half a team without Bako.
Okay, but maybe he'll be here for next week. Okay.
I guess we'll find out.
All right. Thank you, folks. We'll see y'all soon. Ciao, ciao.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.